YouTube, welcome back to my channel JPM.Cuisine. Today we're going to be reviewing the Dalstrong 8-inch Gladiator series chef knife. I've had this knife for about 4 months now, and I've used it pretty regularly in the kitchen, and I just want to share some deeper thoughts on what I think about this knife, in case you've been considering buying something from Dalstrong or buying one of these. First thing to talk about is the design on this knife. This is definitely one of the higher end knives that I have, even though I think it comes in at maybe $40 or $50 on Amazon. The quality on this knife with the pack of wood is really nice, and with that bolster that goes all the way to the heel, very comfortable to use. This is kind of one of my more pristine knives that I like to use, but I don't use it as often because I don't want to mess it up. Especially the handle, I don't want to wear that away, but as you can see, 4 months of use and washing, it's sort of lightened up the patina on it, and you can see more of the grain within it, and that's just from use, minor use, and just washing and drying. I hang this knife up on a rack, or on a magnetic rack, and there hasn't been too much marring on it. It's a nice steel. It looks like it's sturdy enough to hold up to that. Quality wise, this is probably one of the nicer knives that I've used. I really enjoy using it. Quality, the feel, the weight, all feel high quality. The bolster that runs all the way to the heels, a little bit of a problem when you're chopping, but not too much. You can always angle off the board a bit so that this isn't smashing on the board, but it really doesn't impede anything that I'm doing, especially when I do a pinch grip chop. The belly on it, more pronounced, very good angle on it, allows you to, especially if you're doing chiffonade, allows you to get in there and do a nice chiffonade without rolling the leaves over on themselves, which can be frustrating with some of the more straight edge. The quality of the etching hasn't seemed to diminish at all. Maybe a little bit of discoloration here. If you've noticed, Dalstrong, since they've released this knife, has changed their logo a bit. They no longer have the stars. That's one thing I noticed. But still, same quality. This is a high carbon German steel, Western style chef's knife, with the same material in the heel or the butt as the bolster. In terms of edge, sharpness, while I haven't hit this one on a sharpening stone yet, this is going to need to be touched up on a sharpening stone. Honing isn't getting it to that point where it needs to be, and I know it can be sharper than that, but this one is a little bit softer than what I was anticipating. I think it's either a 55 or 56, maybe a 58 on the hardness scale, but it seems to be a little bit lower than that. I've noticed that a bit with some of the Dalstrongs, that the hardness of their knives can vary greatly by the model. When I review the paring knife, I'll talk a little bit about that, but sometimes they seem like they can get dull pretty quick. Still elegant knife. The point or the tip is still intact. No marring, minor scratches from using the honing rod. That's apparent on the majority of the knives that I use. I also don't experience any issues when I'm using the honing rod of the burrs continuously flipping over left and right. So every time you run it down and you do a stroke on the burring on the honing rod, sometimes you'll experience the burr flipping, and then you'll run it across the other side, and typically that'll help remove the burr, but on some knives that will cause the burr to flip over. That doesn't happen on this knife. This one is good quality steel that maintains an edge really well for the most part, but it's not as sharp as some of the other knives that I have in my arsenal. So if you do get one of these Dalstrongs, I recommend picking up a honing rod and picking up potentially a sharpening stone, a wet stone. If you've never done it before, it might be a bit of a concern because of the bolster, but anybody can sharpen this knife. or sharpen a knife with a bolster by just doing a single stroke across the whetstone in both directions or on both sides. As long as you're consistent with it, you get a nice sharp edge. I'm probably going to be doing that on my 1000, 6000 king stone just to get it back to where I'd like it. But overall, the knife has been pretty consistent in the kitchen, and it's a blast, and I enjoy using it. I think at 49, maybe 50 something for this knife, it's definitely something to consider getting. I think the quality and the fit and fill, or the fit and finish, is up there with even the Wusthoffs, or even better than Wusthoff because you have a nice woodpecker handle, but even comparable to maybe some of the Shuns. This is definitely a good feel to it. I think the weight is balanced very well, and this is definitely a good pickup in my book. I'm glad I have this one. This is probably maybe the second knife that I go to, especially this is the first knife I go to when I'm wanting to do chopping or shift knotting of leafy greens, but maybe the second knife that I go to just because I don't want to damage it and I don't want to ruin the handle or cause any additional wear and tear to the handle unless it's necessary. So it's kind of like a trophy, but you know, that being said, it works perfectly fine every day. I might just consider using it all the time anyways and just let it see how much wear and tear we can cause on that handle for you guys to see maybe in a year. We'll see if the handle holds up, but for the most part, extremely comfortable. I love this knife. I love the way it feels. I love what Dalstrong's done here, and for me it's really hard to get away from a bolster knife. So if you're like me and you like bolsters, that'll save you a little bit of money. Their Shogun series knives are a little bit more expensive, but they're a different kind of steel. I think they're VG10 or AUS-8, something like that. Still high quality. I just always opt for a bolster, especially when I'm doing cooking during Thanksgiving, because that's when I do the most of my chopping for a long duration. Well, I hope you enjoyed the review. If you're considering picking one up, hopefully this gives you some insight onto what you were considering. I'll put all the links to the description of the knife and everything else within the description below. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to share them in the comment section of the video. I try to respond and review those as frequently as possible. And as always, thanks for watching.